Most people spend their whole lives working and never own the place they sleep in. They rent, they move, they start over, and they never quite understand why the dream keeps slipping away. But here's the truth. The signs are there long before it is too late. You can see them if you know what to look for. Today we are going to walk through 10 of those signs together. And if you recognize yourself in any of them, that is not a reason to give up. That is your warning. That is your chance to change. So stay with me, because what you are about to hear could be the most important financial conversation you have had in years. Before we go any further, take 5 seconds and drop a comment below. Tell me, do you think owning a home is still possible for regular people today? Write yes or no. I read every single one. And if this kind of content helps you think differently about money, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a video like this one. The first sign is one most people never want to admit. You spend more than you earn and you do not even realize it. It does not feel like overspending. It feels like living. You pay your bills, you buy your groceries, you treat yourself now and then, and somehow at the end of the month, there is nothing left. Nothing saved, nothing set aside. Just zero, month after month, year after year. The problem is not that you are lazy or bad with money. The problem is that nobody ever taught you the difference between what you need and what you are used to. These are two very different things. What you need to survive is much smaller than what you have trained yourself to expect. And the gap between those two numbers is exactly where your future home was supposed to live. People in this situation often make more money as time goes on, but the spending grows right along with the income. A raise comes in, and so does a nicer car payment. A bonus hits, and suddenly there is a weekend trip that was not planned. The lifestyle expands to fill every dollar available, and the savings stay at zero no matter what the paycheck says. This is called lifestyle creep, and it is one of the most silent killers of home ownership dreams. The fix is not complicated, but it is hard. You have to build a gap on purpose. You have to decide that some percentage of every dollar you earn will never be touched for spending. It goes somewhere else first before you see it, before you can spend it. Not because you are punishing yourself, but because your future self needs a place to live that is actually yours. If you have been earning money for years and cannot point to a growing pile of savings, that is the first sign. It is not about the amount, it is about the pattern. And patterns can change, but only if you see them first. The second sign is a little harder to spot because it hides inside something that feels responsible. You have debt, but you keep telling yourself it is manageable. You pay the minimum, you stay current. Nothing is in collections, so it feels fine. But fine is not the same as free, and you cannot build a future on debt that never goes away. Here is what most people do not understand about carrying debt for years. It is not just the money you owe that hurts you, it is what that debt does to your ability to borrow more. Lenders look at something called your debt-to-income ratio when they decide if you can get a mortgage. They add up everything you owe each month and compare it to what you bring in. If too much of your income already goes to existing debt, the bank will say no, even if you have a steady job and decent credit. Credit card balances, car loans, student loans, personal loans, each one of those sits on your financial record and tells the story of your habits. And lenders are very good at reading that story. They do not just see the numbers, they see the behavior. They see someone who has been carrying a balance for years and never paid it down, and they make a judgment about what kind of borrower you will be. The damage goes deeper than the loan application, though. Every dollar you send to debt payments is a dollar that cannot go to a down payment. Every month you carry a balance with interest is a month where the bank is earning money from you instead of you building something for yourself. It is a slow leak in a bucket you are trying to fill, and the bucket never gets full because the hole never gets fixed. The path out is not glamorous. You pick the debt that cost you the most in interest, and you throw every extra dollar you have at it while paying minimums on everything else. Then you move to the next one. It takes time. It takes sacrifice. But every debt you kill is a monthly payment that stops leaving your hands and starts building your future instead. The third sign is something that people argue about, but the numbers do not lie. You have no idea what your credit score is, and you have not checked it in years. Or maybe you checked once, winced, and decided not to look again. Either way, you are flying blind in a system that judges you every time you try to do something important with money. Your credit score is not just a number, it is a reputation. It tells lenders, landlords, sometimes even employers, how you have handled your financial promises in the past. A high score means you are trusted. A low score means every door you try to open costs more or stays closed entirely. And if you do not know your number, you cannot fix what is wrong with it. Many people believe their credit is worse than it actually is, so they give up before they even try. Others believe their credit is fine and discover too late that an old collection or a missed payment years ago is dragging their score down by 100 points. Either way, not knowing is never better than knowing. Ignorance here is not peace, it is just delayed pain. Building good credit is not complicated, but it does require consistency over time. You have to pay on time every time. You have to keep your balances low compared to your credit limits. You have to avoid opening a bunch of new accounts all at once. And you have to let time do its work because the length of your credit history matters too. There are no shortcuts, but there is a clear path if you are willing to walk it. The good news is that credit scores can be repaired. Negative marks fade over time. Habits change the score slowly but surely. But none of that can happen if you refuse to look. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also always the same. Open the app, check the number, and start from wherever you are. The fourth sign is one that feels like wisdom but works against you in practice. You are waiting for the perfect moment to start saving. You tell yourself that once you pay off this debt, you will start. Once you get that raise, you will start. Once things calm down a little, once the kids are older, once the economy looks better, once something changes, you will finally start. But the perfect moment never comes, and the years keep moving. This is not laziness. This is a very human way of thinking. We are wired to believe that the future will be easier than the present, that we will have more energy, more money, more willpower, more time. But the future you is dealing with the same pressures as the present you, plus the extra weight of all the time that passed without action. Every year of waiting is compounding in the wrong direction. The math of saving is not about big amounts, it is about time. Someone who saves a small amount starting today will end up in a much stronger position than someone who waits 5 years and then saves twice as much. That is not motivational talk. That is how compound growth actually works. The earliest dollars you save are your most powerful dollars because they have the longest time to grow. Waiting also means you keep adapting your lifestyle to your current income. The longer you wait to save, the more normal it feels to spend everything you earn. And then when you finally try to save, it feels like deprivation instead of a habit. The pain is much sharper when you wait because you are cutting into something you have grown used to instead of building something before the habits form. Start now, even if it is a small amount. Open the account, set up the automatic transfer, make the first move, however small. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. That saying exists because it is true, and it applies to saving more than almost anything else. The fifth sign is one of the most dangerous because it looks like success. You have a good income but no assets. You earn well, you live well, and from the outside everything looks fine, maybe even impressive. But when you look at what you actually own, what you would have left if your income stopped tomorrow, the answer is close to nothing. This is the trap of high income with low wealth. And more people live in it than you would ever guess. Income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays. These are completely different things, and confusing them is one of the biggest financial mistakes a person can make. You can earn $100,000 a year and still be one missed paycheck away from crisis. You can also earn a modest salary and slowly build real security over time. The number on your paycheck matters less than what you do with it after it arrives. People with high incomes and no assets often have very high expenses to match. The house they rent is expensive, the cars they drive are leased, the vacations are lavish, the dining, the subscriptions, the wardrobe, the gadgets. Everything calibrates to the income and nothing is left over to turn into something lasting. It is a very comfortable treadmill and it is very hard to step off. Assets are things that hold value or generate income over time. A home you own is an asset. A retirement account is an asset. An investment portfolio is an asset. A business you own is an asset. When you spend your income on things that lose value or disappear entirely, you are choosing experiences and comfort over security. That is a valid choice, but you need to know you are making it. The shift happens when you start treating asset building as a non-negotiable line item in your budget, not something you do with whatever is left over. When saving and investing come first, before the lifestyle choices, the assets start to grow. And once they grow large enough, they start working for you instead of you always working for them. The sixth sign is one that lives in every culture and almost nobody talks about honestly. You feel pressure to show financial success before you have actually built it. You buy the things that signal wealth before you have the wealth itself. The new car, the designer items, the expensive evenings, the appearance of having arrived. And every time you spend on image, you delay the reality. This is deeply human. We are social creatures, and how others see us matters to us in ways we often do not fully admit. But there is a painful irony buried inside this behavior. The people who actually build wealth over time tend to be much quieter about it. They drive older cars, they live in modest homes, they do not feel the need to prove anything because they are focused on building something real, not performing something impressive. The people around you who look the most financially comfortable are often the ones carrying the most debt. The flashy lifestyle is frequently financed. The nice car has a big monthly payment behind it. The gorgeous apartment takes up a huge chunk of take-home pay. The surface looks polished, but the foundation underneath is hollow. And building your choices on comparison to that surface is one of the fastest ways to stay poor while looking fine. There is a question worth asking yourself honestly. Who exactly are you trying to impress, and what would they do for you if your money ran out? The answer is usually uncomfortable. The people in your life who genuinely care about you do not need you to perform wealth, and the people who would treat you differently based on your spending habits are probably not people whose opinions should be guiding your financial decisions. When you stop spending to be seen and start spending with purpose, something shifts. The money that used to go to appearances starts going somewhere that actually compounds, and the identity that used to depend on what you owned starts building on something more solid. That shift does not happen overnight, but it starts with one honest question. Am I spending this because I need it, or because I want to be seen as someone who has it? The seventh sign is one that hits especially hard for people who are working very hard and still not getting ahead. You are depending on one income stream and you believe that is normal. One job, one paycheck, one single point of failure for your entire financial life. And as long as that single source keeps flowing, you feel okay. But the moment it stops, everything stops with it. The economy has shifted in ways that make this single income dependency more dangerous than it has ever been before. Jobs that felt permanent have disappeared. Industries that seemed stable have been disrupted. Entire categories of work have been automated or outsourced. The promise that a good job would always protect you financially is not the guarantee it once was, and millions of people have learned that lesson in very painful ways. Building a second income stream does not have to mean working 80 hours a week. It means thinking about what skills you have that someone else would pay for. It means looking at the assets you could eventually build that generate income while you sleep. It means taking small steps toward financial independence, rather than betting everything on one employer who can change their mind at any time for any reason. This matters for home ownership specifically because lenders like to see income stability. They also like to see that your income does not depend entirely on one source that could vanish. And beyond the mortgage application, having more than one way to earn money gives you the confidence to make bigger financial moves. You negotiate harder. You take smarter risks. You do not feel trapped. The path to a second income stream is different for everyone. For some people, it is freelance work in their field. For others, it is a small side business. For others, it is eventually building enough in investments that the returns contribute meaningfully. The form matters less than the habit of thinking this way. Because once you start looking for ways to diversify your income, you start seeing opportunities you never noticed before. The eighth sign is one that nobody puts on a list but everybody experiences at some point. You have had the money before and it slipped away. A tax refund came and disappeared. A bonus arrived and was gone within weeks. An inheritance, a settlement, a lucky period, and nothing to show for it now. This pattern, receiving money and losing it without intention, is one of the clearest signs that the relationship with money itself needs to change. It is not about the amount. People have received large sums of money and built nothing from it, while others have taken a small windfall and used it as the seed for something lasting. The difference is not luck or intelligence. The difference is whether there was a plan waiting when the money arrived, or whether the money just filled in the empty spaces of the lifestyle that was already there. Money without direction finds its own direction, and that direction is usually out. It pays for things that feel urgent. It solves temporary problems. It gets lent to people who do not pay it back. It covers expenses that should have been covered by the regular budget. And before long, the windfall is just a memory. And the financial situation is the same as before, or sometimes worse because of what came with it. Having a plan for unexpected money is something most people never think about until the money arrives. And by then, it is too late to think clearly. The emotions of receiving a large sum make it very hard to think long term. Excitement, relief, generosity, all of those push towards spending now rather than building for later. The plan has to be made before the money shows up, not after. Think right now about what you would do if an unexpected amount of money came to you. Not the whole amount, just a portion of it. What if 20% of every windfall went immediately to a savings account that you did not touch? What if that was the rule, automatic and non-negotiable? Small rules like that made in advance are what separate people who build from people who receive and lose. And here's something worth sitting with as we move forward. The patterns we have talked about so far are not personality flaws. They are habits. And habits can change. The question is not whether you are capable of doing better. The question is whether you are going to decide that the future matters enough to do something different today. Because the next signs we are going to talk about go even deeper, and the people who recognize them and act are the ones who eventually cross the line from renter to owner.